one sister today, she was beating herself up like this. Yes, I reminded her of that which we agree upon. The famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where hadith Qudsi, where he tells us that Allah said, "Ana inda dhanni abdi bi." I am as my slave thinks of me. I'm going to do with him what he thinks. In dhanna khayran fahuwa lah, wa in dhanna sharran fahuwa lah. So if he thinks I'm going to treat him well, that's the way I'm going to treat him. So everything's possible with Allah. Yes. And remember, if we really have this yaqeen and this certainty, and this is what we're meant to focus on, there's nothing impossible. If Allah wants it, it will happen. There's no, I can't. It's just, I won't.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to tonight's episode of the Islam 21C Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Saman Ban, and we have a very interesting, inshallah, episode for you today. Just a reminder before we crack on, if you like this podcast and you've been watching for a while, consider subscribing, please, and click the old notification bell as well so you get notified whenever we release something new. And just a reminder, we're on all the podcast platforms as well. iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Google's one, don't know what it's called. So yeah, do please subscribe if you get your podcast there and give us all the high ratings and all that kind of stuff. Now today I'm delighted to be joined by one of our sheikhs, Sheikh Shakur Rahman. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
He's
why does Salman do this fake bit in the beginning of every podcast? We've
actually
seen each other all day.
Yeah.
We've passing through the
not
masjid,
allowed to say
and
that
then
bit.
he does this fake salaming at the beginning.
It's not fake, it's real.
I thought podcasts were meant to be all about being real.
Yeah, and I
See,
keep
Salman thinks I'm going to be the sheikh, serious type. I've had a long day. It's chill out time.
So Sheikh Shakur is, for everyone, those who might not know him, he's one of the what do they call that?
Advisors.
I didn't want to say judge or anything scary.
No, we don't do that.
He's so he's one of the advisors at the Islamic Council of Europe, and he's also a murabbi, a teacher in the Sabil program, and he's one of our murabbis as well. So he's there to give us a few slaps if we step out of line. Now,
but some people, it's very difficult to change them.
Okay.
So don't blame me. Tarbiyah takes a long time for some long.
Please direct any
complaints about Salman, please post them somewhere
But
else.
Sheikh, have you tried to teach him though a little bit?
I tried, but it's very difficult.
Never worked.
So Sheikh, you know how you're always telling me to go and see a therapist and get professional help and stuff? I
MashaAllah.
thought we got a brother here, mashallah, Muhammad Habib. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
This is a
salam.
real
Alaikum
salam
salam.
right here. Can you zoom in on this salam?
Oh, by the
This
way,
is
this is
one
the
of the
first time
reals.
I'm giving the salam, by the way. That's why I'm
Yeah,
shaking his
mashallah.
hand, yeah?
MashaAllah.
This
Yeah,
is the
this is a real one now.
This is the second realist salam I've had all day, mashallah. Sheikh Habib, Muhammad Habib is I've got his card here because I'm cheating because I couldn't memorize it. It's too much pressure. He is a psychotherapist, and counselor.
You're not going to stop
And
with
you're
that.
a MBAC, MBACP.
Member of BACP, British Association and Council Psychotherapist.
Mashallah. So, mashallah, well known in the community. You're a North Londoner,
Yes.
mashallah. So he's been doing,
I feel like I moved up in
Nah.
the world though.
mashallah,
I came from Southeast to
Yeah.
North London. You know what I mean?
MashaAllah.
So I feel
You're
like I
just on
moved that a
the
little bit. Yeah,
trajectory towards West London.
but there's one issue though. It wasn't a
Ooh.
choice. My
Don't
wife
start
says
the
jump,
Western
I say how high.
Mashallah.
That's the
That's
difference.
and interesting enough, he's a marriage counselor. So
I hope
any
your
sisters out
counselling
there,
not about just
any sisters out there,
Just
you
that.
want to sort out your husband? This is hashtag husband of the year. He can give you all of the the tricks and counseling. You've been in counseling and youth counseling as well for
I do like individual.
25 years, mashallah.
Yeah, I do individual and couples, but my background as well as youth work as well, community worker. So
Mashallah.
it's kind of like I call myself humanistic.
Mashallah, that means different things to different people. But, I suppose
I was
it's a
just
good
thinking
word.
that's dangerous saying that.
No,
Yeah,
So
Salman will
we
tell
can- we
you,
can-
you're
we
sitting
can-
across me and you
Yeah.
said humanist.
Yeah.
He wants
Humanistic.
fireworks.
okay.
Yeah.
Humanistic, yeah.
There you go. That's the first Hadouken, and we're off.
Who got
Ladies
the
and
Haruken?
gentlemen.
Was it me or him?
This is one of those mysteries of life.
Okay.
Just to kind of make sure this is a free taster session, right? We're not going to
Okay.
be charged for this.
I'll think
Advice
about it. You
or
never know.
anything.
You never know.
Depending on how fixed my psycho analysis or whatever if it feels, then
You know,
is
we're
there
all
like a money
broken
back
one way.
guarantee?
You know, we're all broken
We're
one
all
way.
broken
or
one
another.
way.
One
That's
or
deep.
another. You know what I mean?
Inshallah.
So that's the interesting of life. It's a
Yeah.
roller coaster. So
Inshallah.
who's perfect?
Yeah, no one. Only
Allah.
Allah.
Yeah.
Allah.
There you go.
Allahu Akbar.
That was the moment you were meant to say Allah, and he said
Yeah.
no one.
Let's do that one again.
Oh, subhanallah,
Yeah,
subhanallah.
don't blame me for his
Astaghfirullah.
talbiyah.
Rewind.
Yeah.
Who's perfect? Allah.
That's
Yeah,
better.
There you go.
Zoom in. Okay, so you've been doing marriage counseling for many years. right?
Normally, no, I've been doing basically single basically therapy,
Okay.
but I'm moving up to marriage counseling as well.
Yeah.
But generally, the whole issue comes from the individual person.
Mm.
So most of the time, when issue happens, it arises from the person themselves.
Yeah.
So we normally put something that the other person cannot carry. Like we have a vision of how our life's supposed to be, how it's supposed to turn out.
Mm.
And sometimes we lack that critical thinking. So when the stress is a lot, when the situation becomes overbearing, you always end up kind of blaming your partner for something that he hasn't done. So if you have a pressure from family, for example, you see two couples, they're very happy, they're practicing. One of them have a pressure from external. But what happened is that now they feel like my family is not really there for me. They're not helping the way they're supposed to be. And I need my partner to fulfill all of those emotions. So what happened is you put that pressure on your partner demanding. The moment you demand, what will happen from your partner? He will automatically resist. So it's issue sometimes that we bring that issue into the marriage, not realizing that we're only sowing the seed of anger. So marriage is like a flower. You have to kind of like look after it. Just because he hasn't watered the flower, it doesn't mean you have to stop watering it.
It's true. You do need to water flowers.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. So
That's something I'm an expert in. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, his PhD.
Finally. Regular viewers will notice anytime
no,
any
cool,
plant-related thing is mentioned,
okay.
I get happy. That's what my research.
What he was
is.
actually meaning, I was
Yeah, the metaphor.
metaphorically saying that you need to invest
in the
money,
relationship, in the relationship,
time,
in the
patience.
heart, in the emotional
You need to
contact.
water the.
Not the
heart,
plant
yeah.
itself, not literally, no. It's not that way,
Sheikh,
But
how many like in an average week, how many marriage issues do you see in ICE, Islamic Council Europe?
Alhamdulillah, normally on a week, because I do other things as well, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And listening to people's problems does take its toll. I remember in early days in Talab al-Ilm, seeking knowledge, I remember reading through the seerah and one incident where the Prophet ﷺ, he comes in and he's shattered and he lies down. And Aisha radiallahu anha, the great support, the great wife for the Prophet ﷺ, she becomes angry at the people because they're the cause of the Prophet ﷺ being shattered. So everything takes its toll in life, and listening to people's problems and trying to help them is a huge, huge blessing to be able to do that. And Allah using you as a tool to help people do this, knowing that Allah, through His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has said that this salah dhat al-bayn, fixing these relationships between the believers and between families, etc. Fixing this is the greatest deed you could do, greater than recommended prayer, greater than recommended fasting, and recommended charity. And that, messed up relationships like this, these are, as the Prophet ﷺ said, haliqa, these are the destroyer. And these destroy deen.
It has cascading effects, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you
everything.
have any two. Primarily, was it referring to husband and wife, or any two disputants?
Anything between believers. Primarily, this is the thing. Anything between families. Yeah, because our deen specifically, And then if you look at all religions in general, the common thing is, right, look after your kith and kin, your families. Keep those relationships good, tight, strong, invest. Whereas nowadays, subhanAllah, yani, I was reflecting with some it was in a dars that I teach with yani sisters. And and it was mentioned there, life has turned into me.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man talaba haqqan, falyatlubhu bi'athafin wafin aw ghayri wafin." That whoever has a right that he's seeking, then let him ask for that right in a decent way, a completely decent, perfect decency, or at least some decent way. Nowadays, what is it?
Just demand
with arrogance and pride and humiliating the other and thinking this is justified. It's all about me.
But the thing is, most people don't see the outcome. It's very basic. Like I teach kids, and when we're talking about sharing, and I show them this little hadith to do with akhlaq and all of that, like irhamu man fil ardi yarhamukum man fis sama. Those who show kindness on people of earth, Allah will show kindness on the day of judgment. So we explore, like when you have a biscuit or chocolate, if you take that biscuit and you eat yourself, you eat, but afterwards what happened to your brother and your sisters? All you have is anger, resentment, and you're going to have to defend the anger and resentment. The biscuit will be long gone, but the sadness will remain. Now you take a biscuit, you share with your brothers and sisters, it tastes 10 times better. The biscuit goes away, but the love still remains. This is what people don't, most of us sometimes when we feed in the anger guards all the rest of the feelings. It doesn't let the rest of the feeling comes out. And once you're in that mode of being insecure and angry, what you're going to do, you're going to feed the anger every single time because you're coming from a place of vulnerability. And that's most of the time we don't have time to just sit down and look at it, because we feel like if we show our feelings, even to the person who's closest to us, doesn't matter who it is, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid that if once I say something, I'm going to feel weak. If I say that, you make me feel this way, that's why I'm not doing it. You're like, okay, now I just gave a weapon to this person and I have no control over my life. And that just makes it, that issue of resentment just comes in every single time. And most of the time when we're growing up in Islam, we're always being told, share, give, and just give everything out. But what we don't do most of the time, we don't even look after ourselves. When you look at the hadith, and لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. And basically none of you truly believe until you love for your brother which you love for yourself. But the thing is, how do you know what your brother loves when you don't even know what you love, when you're not even kind to yourself? Now, if what you love yourself, if you don't even know how to be kind to yourself, when you do mistakes, you're beating yourself up. You're always thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm bad. Once you're in a relationship now, you're gonna want that person to always push themselves. You're not gonna give them a leeway, because that's the relationship that you have with yourself, a critical relationship with you have. So sometimes we do not see the world as it is, but as we are. So we have to kind of sometimes be kind to us and understand, okay, when I do mistakes, how do I really treat myself? Ask yourself, how many people actually do that? How do we treat ourselves when you make a mistake? What about you? How do you do that? Are you kind to yourself?
I don't know.
No, when he makes mistakes, we deal with it.
When I make mistakes, I get slaps.
And that is the question. So most of the time,
are good for you sometimes.
Yeah, but you see, he's still alive.
Yeah, we hear that.
Mashallah, big guy. So when nice and kind to him.
Yeah,
maybe overly kind. That's the problem.
Some people get too many biscuits when they want to treat themselves.
Yeah, but you feel the problem is not the biscuit, though. It's what comes after the biscuit, though. It's the whip that comes after the biscuit. No, it's not that. Why did I eat the biscuit? Look at my waist is not big enough. What's going on? That's the beating that comes out. But if you say, Alhamdulillah, this belly, this is hard work. This is beautiful. When you start doing that, this is all the money I put in. The best I can be is right here. You know what I mean?
Alhamdulillah, we remember Allah's mercy.
But Alhamdulillah, Allah came in, but you have to be merciful to yourself as well before you can be merciful to anyone. So we need to be able to understand that Nobody can fulfill us. No one can actually give. Even when you talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who are successful, those who contemplate. We don't have time to contemplate. We run away from our own selves. Every time we feel anxiety, every time we feel anxious, every time we feel like we don't want to do something, here comes the phone, here comes our friends, is anything, distraction, cleaning, whatever is work, we're always escaping from our own selves.
Yeah, I'm a workaholic as myself.
Yeah. So, and then we, I know that feeling. You're in the club. You know
does your boss believe that about you, that you're a workaholic? I'm sure I've heard him complain about you enough.
You know, so we need to slow down sometimes. We need to slow down and actually look at how life's supposed to be and why do we get into this, you know? كل أعمال بالنيات. Sometimes we hear these hadiths, but we don't really contemplate about it. You know, most of the time it's like we do an action and then we expect a result.
Well, like Sheikh was saying, he's had back-to-back cases today in ICE, and he was saying that he enjoyed the time in Salah, the breaks he got for Salah. So that could be one way to just get away with all the distractions, especially after Salah. I noticed a lot of people, they just get up and go away or start checking their phones and stuff. Remember Sheikh Haytham once, he was like, make time just to sit, be still after Salah. There's so many prescribed adhkar you can say. So some hadith saying, you know, even before you move around your legs, make sure you be still, quiet, say these things. So it helps you kind of disconnect from all the
but it's easier said than done, though. Easier said than done, brother. Because the thing is,
Assalamualaikum guys, sorry to butt in, but if you're enjoying this podcast, please head over to islam21c.com/donate to help us make more. And if you're not enjoying it, head over anyway and help us make better ones.
Yeah, but it's easier said than done, though. Easier said than done, brother. Because the thing is, if you're stressed out the whole day, the Salah comes in, you're going to Salah, what's the chances you're going to concentrate? The chances are zero. It doesn't matter who you are. You might find the relief, but the chance of you concentrate ain't gonna happen. You know, when you go to bed, most of us think we go to bed because we want to. We go to bed because we made the intention to go to bed. We work in the morning thinking, I'm gonna go to bed at 9 o'clock. So what you're gonna do the whole day, even though you don't know it, you're preparing to go to bed. Nothing happened just like that. But we wanna without really putting the intention and actually taking that time. So, okay, when I before I pray, I make sure I'm going to give that 20 minutes to myself. I make sure that I have that 20 minutes, I'm going to finish work early. We're not putting the preparation before the Salah. Easier said than, okay, you know what? After Salah, sit down. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It cannot happen unless you give that time, the conscious time to say, you know what? I'm going to do it. And that doesn't happen over 1 day or 2 days. It happened through practice and, training your mind thinking, I need to do this. Any habit that you do, it takes time. But once we do, what happens? We forget. We forget how we get there. We think, yes, it's easy. Okay, just do this and that's it. Subhanallah. Doesn't happen. Nothing happens like that. It's impossible.
That point you said about reflecting. One thing that today, especially today, the cases that I was dealing with today, it really came across that people have lost the art of reflecting upon their own behavior, their own choices. This used to be a natural phenomenon. It wasn't amazing. It was normal. You had the time. Pace of life was different. Distractions were less. People used to sit down at the end of the day. They used to speak about what's happened in their day because you didn't have all of these phones and gadgets and even TVs. Things like that. They had to sit down and they would then verbalize what's happened in their day. That was their entertainment. And at the same time, there was so much learning, social interaction. There was so much learning and it's much slower in its pace and it requires you to think and interact. And there's so much going on. So many skills are being developed there. Now, what happens? People get into an argument, a situation, and they have no control. They let go and they do what the Prophet said don't do. The summary advice for it all. Most problems, the Prophet when that man came to him and he said, "Oh, Sini, give me advice." The Prophet said the same thing 3 times. He said, "La taghdab, la taghdab, la taghdab." Don't let yourself become controlled by your emotions and just lash out. Destruction so many times.
Don't get angry.
Yeah, don't get angry. Now, it doesn't mean don't physically get angry. You can't take that emotion out of a human being. And if you were to take it out, that would be detrimental to the human being. The process I'm saying, manage that emotion. Don't do things that you're going to regret. Most of us do this. But then, to make matters worse, once the incidents happened, there's no, and subhanAllah, cases today, it's ajib. It's as if they couldn't reflect. Okay, and you had to take them baby steps, one by one, holding their hands. Okay, right, what happened? Okay, what do you think about that choice? Okay, was that a good choice?
When you threw that plate on his head.
It wasn't that bad, alhamdulillah. No one got hurt, alhamdulillah. No violence
That's
involved.
back from the... not mentioning any case or anything. That's just from like Lauren Al-Hardy.
But the thing is, Sheikh, is like most of the time when people are in a relationship, what they don't think about, anything can be a chore. You know, even, you know, when you before you're meeting your spouse, you love calling that spouse. Is, you know, is something that
what kind of relationship does these?
you know, at the beginning, you love calling your spouse, but the issue is
Snapchat.
Yeah, whatever the case, you know. But the moment the opposite person that said, you know what, you have to call me, it becomes kind of like you resent, because now the other person is demanding. You no longer feel like it's an enjoyment. You feel like it's a chore. Well, we forget most of anything that you do. If you say, I would love if you can do this. Just a very simple way of saying stuff. I would love if you can do this. You're already showing that partner of yours, you're affirming that, you know what, I love you, yeah, and I'm here, but I would love if you do that. The person will feel less resentful and will be willing to do that. I'm like that.
That's
I'm
a good
married.
Trick. That's a good trick, man.
I'm married, you know.
These
you
are
know,
like really important marriage hacks. Right here, man.
I'm married.
Take
You know
some
what?
notes here, man.
I'm telling you, you know, my wife beats me when she says, you know what?
Sorry, what did you say?
She beats
say
me
that
up.
again?
When she beats
What
me
did
when
you
she
say?
says, yeah, when she says, you know, whenever she says that,
And
you're
you
the
said that
man.
on camera?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure she loves you, really.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? I know where my bread is buttered.
There's
Man.
a beats
I'm a wimp.
of love.
I'm a wimp. I guarantee you. But guess what? I'm a wimp that goes to bed smiling. That's the difference.
Oh,
What was that? Who?
I'm a wimp that goes to bed smiling.
But okay, nice.
Okay,
nice.
so I prefer
That's a
to be a wimp.
psychotherapy, yeah.
No, that's just me. That's my choices.
You
This
treat
is
yourself
the
out.
fireworks now. This is the fireworks time, yeah? So the Prophet
Round
did
one,
he get
fight.
beats? Did he get beats from anybody, especially his wives? I
Hey,
don't think so.
I'm not the prophet. Alhamdulillah. I'm not the prophet. I'm
that's
just
a
me.
relief.
لقد
I'm
كان
just
لكم
me.
في رسول الله أسوة حسنة.
You know, وَإِنَّ لَكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You know, I can endeavor, but I'll never be there. So you know, so there you
It
go.
works for you. It works for you. Let's not make it a
Shakur
general
is-
principle for life for everybody.
Sheikh Shakur is somewhat of a
Particular
feminist
case.
Yeah. So
or an
you know, I'm getting,
anti-feminist.
you know what?
so-
This is what brother can
I'm
never
a
be
Muslim,
vulnerable.
Yahi, who sticks
what?
to
You see, this is
traditional
it.
guidance.
This is it. Look, the sheikh is sitting here. Instead of him complimenting me here, now I feel like I just want to go back to my shell. Why do I open my mouth? This is our sheikh that's doing this to me. Subhanallah, Malik al-Quddus. Where am I gonna go now?
But you're
Toughening
used
you
to...
up.
Toughening me up.
You're used
You're
to
gonna
getting
break
big...
my house, akhi. Subhanallah. You know, you're supposed to say, well done, alhamdulillah,
What happened to all
mashallah.
that psychotherapy?
What do you mean
all that
psychotherapy?
studying and
Listen,
Listen. The
You
Sheikh...
know what?
You know what? I know what I can live with and what I cannot live without. I cannot live without my wife. I need my wife on my chest for
Mashallah.
my own insanity.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, but you're not helping right now, Sheikh.
I did. I
But
said
he's
it
giving you-
works for you.
I hope she's watching. I hope she's watching.
I hope my wife's not watching.
Hey, I need to call her. You know,
She's got chores to do right now.
you know. I'll be telling her. You know what?
Sheikh's giving you a bit of
bedtime.
beats. Sheikh's giving
Alhamdulillah.
you a bit of beats, but I think
Yeah.
you'll be going to bed smiling though, inshallah.
I don't know about that one. My heart is broken. I'm serious. I won't be able to share my face in the community.
Two rakat, you'll be fine.
Yeah?
Two rakat. That's the prescription. I'll give it to you.
Can you blow something on this water as
I
well?
don't
You
need
can
to.
drink
Two
that.
rakat, ya
Listen,
akhi.
if I can concentrate on the rak'ah, that's a problem. If I can't concentrate, it's not going to help me.
But still, pray to the two rakat, you'll benefit.
Yeah, I'll benefit. Alhamdulillah. I hope so. But you still, you know, that's it.
If you think that's a bit
If
of a
it works
bid'ah in
for
the
you,
comments,
that's
let us know below in the comments if
You know,
think
you know
that's
what?
a bit
You
of
know
a
what? If
bid'ah.
my
innovation.
if my wife kicks me out for the next couple of months, you know why?
La taqab.
If I try to become a man here and I stand up and you know, that's it.
I didn't say
You
that
can
was
go
coming
to-
you.
you can
I'm
go to
coming
ICE.
to you.
Come there. My door is open for you
You can
anytime.
go to ICE, get an appointment with the Sheikh, mashallah.
But you know, on a serious note, you know, when she says to me, you know, you're the man. You know, what am I supposed to do? I make
I
mistakes.
think it's pronounced you da man.
Yeah, that man.
The man. Yeah.
You know, I end up not saying anything because she acknowledged her mistakes. What am I gonna say? I feel like she beat me. I feel like she won there, and I keep my mouth shut. So you know, she acknowledged it, her mistakes. What else can I go from there? There's nothing else from there.
Yeah, on
But most of the
on
time-
a more serious note,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree with him. And in being a man is not
Being macho
being
and-
a tyrant and what you think. That's not, because the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us how to be a man. And it wasn't being overbearing. It wasn't being severe. It wasn't being harsh. It was actually al-karam. Karam, generosity, being noble. That's what being a man is. And from that nobility, the way one of the brothers, one of my friends, he described it in the NLP kind of way of describing it, is a master of states.
You mean their kind of
Yeah,
NLP,
their kind of stuff, yeah.
psychotherapy
That kind of
stuff?
stuff, yeah. But really,
Mashallah.
what does Islam teach us? Yeah, right. Allah tells us about Jannah and Nar. In the end of Surah Nazi'at, we all know. فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيا فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. If you want your Jannah, and the Prophet ﷺ is the pinnacle of this, what do you have to do? You have to manage your nafs. You have to prevent it from doing these silly things. And really, you know, when we let our desires take over and our emotions take over, if you were the fly on the wall watching it, you look so silly. We've all done it, yeah? You can't not do it.
When you check the CCTV later.
Yeah, if you were to do that, you think, that was me. Yeah, so...
I feel like that sometimes when I watch podcasts. I watch them playing back on the other. What was that?
Yeah, this is you, Salman.
Why did I say that?
You know, but the thing is, you know, that kind of like whenever you look back in your life when you're young and you see the decisions that you made and how your thinking was, you end up thinking, now I know the wisdom behind it. I remember my father, my mother would be upset. You know, my mother and my stepmom, they'll both be my aunt. I call her my auntie. I don't call her my stepmom though. But they'll be upset sometimes. And my father will sit there quietly. He won't do nothing. I'll be looking at my father thinking, if I ever get married, I won't be my father. I ain't never been my father. I'm going to make sure that I speak to my wife. I talk to her. And I learned one thing though. Sometimes a person just needs to release. You just need to be quiet and listen. Sometimes a person just needs that run. There's no, but sweetheart, I love you. No, it doesn't work. Let them rant.
Yeah.
And then just be there. When they're finished, they'll come to you. And sometimes when I get upset, my wife will be like, why you screaming? You're supposed to be a psychotherapist. I say, listen, leave me alone. Let me run. Don't
scream.
Let me be myself. Let me run.
You're trying to teach your wife at that point. Yeah? How does that go for you?
No, I'm not teaching her. That's me just saying I'm gonna let go. You know,
You
one
can
day,
rant on the sofa tonight, mate.
you know, one day I was actually I had a poster. Like I was expecting a post from the post office. The guy came in, knocks the door, puts in the post, runs away. I go to the post office. They told me, you know what, he hasn't delivered. I was really excited to get my package. The next day I go in, the package ain't there. I'm start getting angry and I'm saying I get upset. Go, what's going on? My wife going, why are you getting angry? You're supposed to be a psychotherapist. Leave me alone. I need to run. Then I went, you know what? I have to take this anger somewhere and I have to put it somewhere. I just called the complaint office. Never complained ever before. And I just went, bah! And they were okay. I put the phone down. I looked and went, Alhamdulillah, I feel so good now. Wallahi al-azim.
Very
You know
interesting.
what I mean? But it's about putting your emotion at the right place. You cannot run away from your emotion. So when you say don't get angry,
Is that what they call emotional intelligence?
100%. You know
How to
when
manage them, not just suppressing it, but
exactly.
letting
Managing
it come out
dealing with it.
properly.
Exactly.
properly, yeah.
You know when I worked in schools, I used to call the teachers emotion illiterate. This is the reason why kids get excluded, because half of the teachers get intimidated just because a child raises their voice. You know, and because they're thinking, why does this child not want to learn?
He's probably got a knife.
You probably got
Unless your school has some good metal
He's
detectors.
talking
Nah,
about
that-
primary kids.
You know, in primary,
be surprised,
secondary, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, everyone's got knives now.
Everyone got knives, yeah.
hold on,
I'm glad you're not a teacher, though. I'm glad you're not a teacher.
Hang
Yeah,
on, I've been teaching many years. in
yeah,
my life,
and,
so
and nobody pull a knife
Alhamdulillah,
on me,
all
man.
good.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be afraid. Akhi,
You got good street cred. That's why.
Is it really?
Mashallah.
And what about you?
Because you're a youth worker as well, innit? So
Yeah, but
We'd
what's
be
that
like,
got
we
to do
can't
with
shank
anything?
him.
Yeah, you can't. A youth worker gets shanked too, you know.
yeah, it's fun.
These days there's no
yeah,
prisoners.
yeah, you guys touched on something important a bit earlier.
Yeah.
About masculinity and what it means to be a man.
Mm.
Because a lot of young brothers nowadays,
Mm.
we have conflicting. We have conflicting. That's why I let that slide
Okay.
for a few seconds. They have conflicting messages from different, people, cultural producers, from the movies, from music industry, from whatever, saying this is what it means to be a man. Yeah, and what Sheikh Shakur just mentioned, the Sunnah, what the Sunnah says about being a man, what Islam says about being a man, is sometimes radically different, right? Like the Prophet ﷺ, he cried. And, the kind of macho culture in the Western world, it says, no, men aren't supposed to cry, for example. So that's one, example of a difference. Do you find that there's a bit of a clash and a confusion about what it means, what masculinity means, or because there is an element of just cultural, right? What it means to be, someone could say what masculinity looks like in the Middle East, for example, is different to what it looks like in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But the thing is,
if it's normal for like two men who are friends to walk down the street holding hands, right? Like in Pakistan, in the Middle East somewhere, but over here it's seen as a.
I'm sure it's okay everywhere nowadays.
It's 21st century, yeah.
21st century.
you know, when I started school, because when I came here, I was about 15 years old. My brother was about 11, 12 years old. We went to school holding hands. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me throughout the whole school. Wow. And they never forgot it. So culture class.
That was just the teachers.
And the students, man. That's the worst ones. But the thing is
my school, it was the teachers who would have taken you out, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not even the masculinity issue at the moment. Is it even the femininity issue is an issue?
Yeah, 100%.
Right now, is we both like we haven't got.
How many times have you? Sorry to
on.
interrupt you, but how many times have you heard from sisters?
Yeah.
And from brothers? The sister says, "I don't know how to be feminine."
Yeah.
And the man says, "No, but I can't do that."
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know how to do that. I can't. They said, "Don't know."
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh, the most of the time.
What's what are you getting at here? That sounds like a bit of a deep point. Alert.
A man.
Pay attention, everyone.
A man saying, "Right, I don't know how to be a man."
Okay.
And I can't. And the woman saying, "I don't know how to be feminine, and I can't."
Yes.
So it's IG.
But the thing is, when you look at "I can't," that word "I can't," what they're saying realistically is, when you say you can't,
it's just shortened.
But there's not only that. But you lie to yourself. They will look at it. You just analyze it for a second. If you say "I can't," what are you actually saying? You're disempowering yourself. You're putting the onus to somebody else that is not
it's like
even
you
there.
mentioned a statement of fact that I cannot do this. I
cannot do this. Yes. So I have no power and I cannot do it. Now, if you tell somebody I'm not willing now, tell somebody, don't say I can't, just say I'm not willing. I guarantee you what's going to happen is it'll be too hard to swallow because now they have to take an ownership. Just a simple word, responsibility. Now, this is the thing that we do. We use these words, I can't, and basically I'm horrible, I'm bad, I can't help it, I'm not a good timekeeper. We use these things and enforces us who we are. And so
it's that a statement, there's just a phrase, I am, right?
Yes.
There's some
I am, because
mystical power in that statement.
But you see, whatever we say to our mind, that's how we're gonna be. So half of the time, it's not what we see; it's how we believe about ourselves. So if you actually believe that you can achieve something, that thing automatic by you feeling that you will achieve it. So when we have kids and I have my kids whenever they say, "Dad, I can't do my Quran," you said, "You can't, or you're not willing." What do you want? Exactly. And the three, all of these things that we look at it. All of these things that we look at it comes out from his life. So I said, have you come with the 3 actions that will give you success. These are very simple. I said, first of all, have you come with the intention? Do you have clear intention? Do you really want to do this? So when you say intention, كل أعمال بالنيات, but put that aside for a second, but just to make people understand, if I come with a clear intention, because half of the time you want to do it, but you're doing you're lazy.
Yeah, you're not really committed.
You haven't come with the intention. Second, have you come with the action that you need? Are you coming with the action? Are you putting things in place? Are you spending 2-3 hours a day to do that? Thirdly, have you come with the patience? If you come with all of those three,
So
in every
intention,
aspect, intention,
commitment,
action, and patience,
patience.
there's nothing that you can come with those three that you're going to fail upon. Impossible.
Unless Allah doesn't.
Unless Allah doesn't exist to you. But there's another way. If you fail on that now, here comes another one. If you fail on that is, as long as you try your best, you are the best, and the best you can be is yourself. Qaddarullah ma sha fa'al. Then you accept the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what's happened is that once you don't do this, one thing you're going to have is you're going to blame yourself. So it's very hard for you
Or blame others.
and blame others. So it's very hard for you to take the qadar, because deep down you know partly it's to do with me. You can't just say qadar ma sha fa'al. No, because you know deep down your line. So there's something about that qadar doesn't give you that solace that you need, because deep down you know there's something that you did that you haven't really done everything that you do.
Yeah.
Everything.
So when someone says, I can't or don't know how to be masculine or feminine, hopefully not the same person.
Yeah.
But
I've never got that one so far. Alhamdulillah.
so, but partly it's because they actually don't know how, right? Or they're getting confused messages from society around them saying this is what,
No,
or the
normally
streets or something.
what I've felt,
Yeah.
what I've encountered, has always been they're not willing to do it. Okay, now
But they know
one
what it
sister
means
actually
to be
today. Yeah, they
a
know.
man or-
One sister today, she was beating herself up like this. Yes, I reminded her of that which we agree upon. The famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where hadith Qudsi, where he tells us that Allah said, "Ana inda dhanni abdi bi." I am as my slave thinks of me. I'm going to do with him what he thinks. In dhanna khayran fahuwa lah, wa in dhanna sharran fahuwa lah. So if he thinks I'm going to treat him well, that's the way I'm going to treat him. So everything's possible with Allah.
Yes.
And remember, if we really have this yaqeen and this certainty, and this is what we're meant to focus on, there's nothing impossible. If Allah wants it, it will happen. There's no, I can't. It's just, I won't.
But Sheikh, you know what you just said right there? If you look at it now, that hadith itself, what I say, you know, whenever I used to study, people say, how does psychology going to go with your religion? What I said is, this has not actually decreased my religion, increased my knowledge of religion. When you do say the hadith, the way I look at it is that understanding from the hadith is, once you start saying to yourself, I will, I can, you're already believing whatever you're putting in your mind already, that Allah has decreed this for you in a way that this can happen and will happen. And all you have to go through is the ayah, what you call it? Through every hardship, there's ease. So all you have to understand is there is going to be ease coming up. If you look at it again, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah doesn't burden you more than what you can handle. Now, if you look at all of this and you put it together, everything that's going to come out of you, you can do it. As the Sheikh said, I am whatever my slave's going to think of me. So if you believe of good that's going to come to your life, you're going to believe that things are going to happen. It's not the reality that changes around you. It's the reality of the conscious that changes. Once we change our conscious, everything around us changes. Whenever I have clients, they say, what's going to happen in here? There's one thing I always say. I said, everything in your life will change and nothing will change. Just think about this. Everything in your life will change and nothing will change. It takes them a while to think about it. The process is...
So man hasn't got it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Dad. His head was like...
Yeah.
Wallahi.
I absolutely understand what you just said.
But the thing is not what's going on in our lives that's hard. What is the concept of how we think of our surrounding. But once we can get 360 degrees of whatever has been said, our life changes. So once people come to counseling, what they're actually having is able to process from their own selves 360 degrees. They're able to sit there and look at themselves. Because when you're outside, everywhere that you go, there's an unspoken rule that you don't want to go, that you don't want to break. Even right now, we haven't discussed any rules, but consciously, subconscious or conscious, we know there's a rules that we cannot cross. There's a boundary that we cannot cross. And this is the thing that we can never let ourselves be completely vulnerable. And because we're not doing that, that is the thing that operates and actually guides us. So we walk, we eat, we open our door, we sleep. All of these things, we don't even think. This is a subconscious, that's our brain, it's your subconscious that's guiding us. So we do not think about where our brain and where we are. We're just thinking just the present, but we don't see what's actually influenced us. Where are we going? Are we operating from a place of insecurity? Are we operating from a place of abandonment? Are we operating from a place of a rejection? And if you're thinking about that, if people are in a relationship, now one person is afraid to be abandoned, what they're going to do? They're going to be very clingy on that person. Where are you? Where you're going? What's going to happen? They're always clingy. And the other person feel like suffocated. The other person, if subconsciously they're kind of thinking, you know what? I don't want to be abandoned. They're not going to be able to show their feelings, how they really feel. So they're going to go around other issues to pick a fight because they don't want to feel abandoned. These are the things that's going on in our relationship, and not only a relationship within just like a spouse or couple, but within a relationship with everybody. Whenever I help people.
Do you see that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
you see it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes courage. It takes courage to actually come out of your comfort zone and to really face up to what's happening. It takes courage to understand the other person and then work with them. It takes courage. And it's very easy to, right, this is how I am, and I'm not going to do anything other than this, and everyone else has to conform. If they don't, then I'll just leave them and go off and do something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people, you see, people break up in marriages. Sometimes, a case the other day, they broke up within the first month. And even worse than that, it was the first week. First week. Why? The first week. That's crazy. Crazy stuff, right?
That's a honeymoon period, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy stuff. Why? They can't or they won't have the courage to actually find out what this person likes, what they dislike, how to work with them. It takes courage.
There's a case in Malaysia. There's a couple that got married. After about, I think it was several weeks or something, they said, we cannot live with each other. We can't. We have to get divorced. So they went to a mediator, and they start asking, what's really going on? What is the thing that's making you kind of feel like you can't live with one another? One of them said, I cannot sleep without the light I cannot sleep with the light off. The other one said, I cannot sleep with the TV, without the TV being on. So they both have an issue. The issue was they really couldn't stand one another is one of them wanted the TV on and one of them wanted the light on. So the sheikh said, okay, well, you know what? This is what you're going to do.
Leave both on.
No. No, actually go to two.
That's why, Salman, you should not
Yeah,
go
you should know. Yeah, exactly.
It's logic, man.
No, logic.
Not mutually exclusive.
No, that's not logic. This is the logic. The logic was go to two separate rooms. So a person can have their TV and the other person can have their light on. And whenever you guys need to meet up, you meet up. But during the night, you go to two separate rooms. They came back about a month or two later and they said, we are content. We're happy. Alhamdulillah. This is it. This is the. I know it feels so.
Finally,
it just feels so surreal.
Are you trying to say that husbands and wives should sleep in separate rooms? Did you just say that?
moving on swiftly.
No, that was not the case. The case.
I'm sure in our minds that's not our vision of married
exactly.
life and a blissful married life.
Exactly, but this is the thing: is we go into marriage not willing
Sometimes
to
we need some
compromise,
space
not
apart,
willing.
innit?
You know what the sheikh said? Like you said that a person should empathize with another person, but how can I even empathize with another person when my needs not being met? It's not gonna happen. Everybody needs their own, and the only way your needs gonna be met is for you to know what you want and who you are. Most of the time, people go into marriage, they don't know what they want, what they're going in marriage for. They go to marriage to escape reality, and then they realize, you know what, the one that I came from and the one that I made is not different. Because sometimes young people, they're going to think, once I get married, my life is going to be Hollywood, Bollywood, this is it. The brother's going to take me.
That's a deep point.
It is. And
they get married to escape the reality of their own selves.
Yes, and then they go in and they realize it hasn't happened. Brothers go, once I get married, the sister's gonna give me massage. She's gonna cook for me. She's gonna be everything that I want. And then they realize, it ain't happening, brother. You gotta have to come with some patience that you never had. I don't think I learned the meaning of patience until I got married. And I have to be honest, I never learned it.
We need a
And
version
then you
of
learn
this
more patience when you have
podcast to
children.
Oh,
give to his wife, to
subhanallah.
show his wife. So some things you do want your wife to see, some things I'm assuming you don't want your wife to.
No, you know what? My wife knows me because I kind of believe that, you know, on a serious note, when I got married, I was kind of upset with my dad a little bit because I kind of felt like, why didn't he not tell me all of these challenges that I'm going through? Why did he not prepare me for this? That's how I
Because you would
felt.
have run away from marriage. Why? See, it was hikmah.
No, it
The
wasn't.
elders have
It-
hikmah.
Far from it. Far from it. You know,
It's important to
my
be
wife was
upfront.
Hang on a
pregnant-
second. I'm trying to praise his dad. And what's he doing?
Yeah, he's saying no.
No, sorry, but you know what? I love my dad, but there is hikmah that I learned from him. You keep your mouth shut when it's necessary. I learned that.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a good one, isn't
yeah,
it?
I learned a lot of hikmah, but there's some of the wish that, because whenever I went to him, all he said is, be patient. That's how, my dad is old school. Inshallah, be patient. And you know what? If he did even that little bit, I learned a lot from it. But I wish he would have told me the stages of, you know, oh, she's pregnant, you know, just in case, you know, your wife might be pregnant. This is what's gonna happen. Watch out for this. I'm going there losing my head. He never told me like, hey, brother, is there any chance, father, but your wife is pregnant? Never thought about it. 1 minute she's crying, don't go to work. The next minute she go to work. The next minute she's crying over in the middle of the night.
I'm
The next
sensing
minute-
quite a history of pent-up aggression against your father. How does that make you feel, brother?
Huh? Oh yeah, you know what? I came to terms with. That's why I can express it.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. But most of the time when I see brothers who get married and in the masjid door, and I
Important
ask
to be
them,
realistic.
yeah, and I asked them one question, brother. When you sit down, I said, okay, I just see when he's down. I said, brother, is there any chance your wife is pregnant? And the eyes light up. Then I tell him the story that I'm just telling now. Wallahi, all of them just bring up, this was happening. I go, akhi, don't worry about it. Even in my mind, when my wife was pregnant the first time, in my head, I divorced her 1 million times. So don't worry about it. This is normal.
Ya Rabbi.
Don't give the fatwa.
I don't know.
Don't do it.
How did you work out this is normal? Ya akhi?
I can't say it, obviously.
This is not the first time he's taken his own life experience and he's now made generalizations onto everybody. I'm sure they teach you in your stuff.
Don't make it
Generalizations are.
Oh my
no,
God.
no.
Jinx.
No. But you know,
Okay,
that's my
Yani,
personal life.
can I see his certificates, please? We need to check. Can we check his registration as well?
It's mysteriously just blurred away. It's dissolved.
Okay.
You know, wallahi, the relief they come out.
Come on, Yani, everyone should have that vision. Yani, you read the ayat, for example, in
What vision?
The vision of the perfect marriage,
Yeah.
that perfect blissful life in marriage, and like in the end of Surah Yasin,
Yes.
Inna ashab al-jannati fi shughulin fakihun. Yeah, the people of Jannah, what they're doing, they're occupied, and they in enjoyment that you can't imagine, pure bliss. Everyone has that. That's what they want. Okay,
He's like,
what's the
that's going to
shughul?
come in Jannah, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
this is
exactly.
what they're doing. Right, what is it? Their relationship is the greatest intimacy in every sense of the word. Yeah? In every sense of the word. They know each other so well. They've gelled. There's the physical intimacy. There's the complete emotional, psychological bliss. What are they doing? They're eating the fruits of Jannah, enjoying the na'im, everything, luxury. Everyone wants that. Yeah? And this is the peace that descends upon them from Allah. He gives them everything they want. That's what we want. But that's Jannah.
That's not dunya.
You have to get through this one first. But the point that intimate relationships are gone. Couples you see day in, day out.
I think you got
They don't know each
obviously
other.
because people come to you and maybe yourself as well when there are problems and when it's breaking down and there's serious issues. You guys have maybe a disproportionately negative view about how many problems there are in marriages and stuff. It might be a bit
No,
bleak.
you have to
that
balance
saying,
it. You have to
No,
balance
there
it.
isn't,
might come across as a bit bleak and pessimistic to say, oh man, we've lost X, Y, Z. But
I don't
I don't believe in that at all.
Nah, true.
Most people are doing very well.
Alhamdulillah.
The proportion of people you see who have the problems is very small compared to all of the different marriages out there.
Hopefully.
It is clearly.
Yeah.
They just haven't discovered your phone number yet.
No,
Speaking
but-
of ICE, there's going to be, I was told to give a quick plug that there's a seminar, a marriage seminar happening in February and in March in London, Cardiff, and I think Birmingham as well. So check out ICEurope. Let me just check the website. I don't want to give the wrong one.
ICEurope.org.
ICEurope.
help you.
ICEUROPE.org. Even post Brexit, it's still called IC Europe. Alhamdulillah. We have a discount code for Islam 21C viewers. Hey, how about that?
Mashallah.
I21C10 for £10 off. So please visit ICEurope.org for details. That's a very interesting, inshallah, and beneficial marriage seminar.
It's a
If you
workshop.
don't have
It's a workshop.
workshop,
seminar.
yeah, well,
Okay. You don't get lectured.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
You have
alhamdulillah.
to. You have
Who's
to
it
work
for?
out how to.
Who's
behave.
it for? Just can
Everyone.
You want to give?
Those
You
who-
can look at the camera and give it a bit of a plug.
Give
Say,
a
you
plug.
know, yeah,
No.
so you know,
Yani, what?
it'll be the best marriage
what our
seminar you've
brother-
ever seen in your life.
It's not a seminar. What it
I
does-
mean, workshop.
you can't remember anything today.
It's been a
Right.
long day, bro.
So as our brother Muhammad Habib, he was
Yeah.
talking about the issue of, I wish my father had told me this and that, and that's the challenge he's going to face. So when we put together this marriage workshop,
Not seminar.
not a seminar, we did it in a way that would preempt and prepare you for the challenges you're going to face in marriage. The normal challenges, problems, how to interact with each other, how to interact with in-laws, how to get along. What is the bigger picture in the marriage? What you should ignore, what you should overlook. How do you work together? So that's why I say it's a workshop, because you look at case studies.
So
and
it's
figure
not
out
just
how to
for
behave.
married people. It's for people
No,
who
it's for
looking to
we
get
had
married.
last
and-
time. We had a lot of brothers who were not married and sisters who came.
Did you just move the partition and say, hey, bring your wali
Say
as
what?
well?
Yes.
Say
Say what? Say what?
Yeah, bring your wali as well. You know, have a little, turn it into a marriage event.
No, we did it.
Yeah.
I think there's
That's a
something.
good idea. For
Yeah, we know. There's many things. many things
I
we
can
say
see that. I can see
Yeah,
that.
alhamdulillah. Happily married for 11 years.
about.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. May Allah put more barakah in it.
I mean,
I'm so good at being a husband. That, no, I'm really, alhamdulillah, husband of
Let's
the
give
year.
you some Islamic advice, because I'm meant to be the sheikh here. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Yeah, that verse. Yeah, don't
Alhamdulillah.
praise
alhamdulillah.
yourselves.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So, what you said about, the brothers you're talking about, is your wife pregnant? Because I'm assuming kind of hormones
No, it's
raging
not.
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That
but it's-
reminded me of a really funny thing that a brother mentioned. I won't mention his name. His name's Ayaz Farhat. He, mashallah, when he got married, like he's got I think 3 kids or 4 kids, I think. And they were kind of quick succession, one after the other. So he goes to his wife like, I haven't known you except, being pregnant. You might be a really nice person.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
He's like, for all I know, you could be a really nice person. But alhamdulillah, it's comes with it's all part of the joy of marriage. Alhamdulillah, I
That
have
in
3
itself,
kids.
Yeah.
right. British humor.
Yeah.
These kind of things don't help in a marriage. Okay? So, man, you're okay in your marriage. Yeah?
Alhamdulillah. That's why I don't do
Alhamdulillah,
counseling,
Yeah.
professionally.
No, this-
People do randomly come
You know,
with
some of the-
problems there.
one of the points that our brother Muhammad Habib, he just said just a minute ago, those nice words. We're losing the ability, so many times, the niceties, especially I found in cases when they've been married for around 12 years or 12 years plus, around the 15-year mark. They're so used to each other, they've dropped all of the niceties. And that destroys the marriage. Everyone wants to be appreciated. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, it's enough evil and يحقر أخاه, that you belittle your brother. Okay, you belittle anyone in life. How are you going to have a relationship with them? No one wants to be belittled.
Yeah. But the thing as well, it's not even marriage. We belittle our children more than
everything,
anything else. And this what's happened is that we raise our kids in that negative environment. We belittle them. We don't really let them feel accountable for their own action. A lot of the times I hear young people say, I don't want to do the Quran anymore. because they've been forced to do all of these chores, but there wasn't any rahmah towards that. The Prophet ﷺ,
The word you're looking for is love.
it's love, exactly.
Love,
Yeah. And when the Prophet sent Anas bin Malik to get some chores, Anas completely forgot. He started playing.
Yeah.
The Prophet came and said, "Where's the stuff that I sent you?" He said, I forgot. Where's the money? I lost it. So we just keep on playing. So the kids, their job is to play. But what we do is we even stop that, and we don't realize that this is the way they learn is through play. And the only relationship we have with our kids most of the time is that just do this, don't do that. It's all negative. And that is we don't really realize and have time to kind of say, how can I change the tone of voice? How can I change the way they see what I want them to do? And this is the mentality that we need to have. Whenever I go to school, the teacher will normally say, they want to ask me about what they done, everything. No, hold on, I want to know about their behavior. I want to know how are they in class? Are they shy? Are they talkative? I'm not trying to get it because I want to punish them. I want to understand how they're behaving in school, so I can empower them to actually facilitate what's going on with them. Once you empower anyone, man, woman, child, it doesn't make a difference. They will able to look around the rest of the surroundings, and they're able to actually grow. But if a person is actually kind of like anxious within themselves and they're feeling overwhelmed, they can't hear what anybody else is telling them. They're too overwhelmed to kind of understand what's going on. So the only way to get through to any human being is not by saying, you should do this, why don't you do this? It's about understanding what's going on with you. How can I help you? This is the way you can go through what you're going through. But the most important thing is, most of the time we feel like what we're going through, we're the only one that's going through that. That's the biggest problem that we have.
Lack of empowerment, you say, is maybe a widespread issue, or an important issue to be on the lookout for. Sheikh Shakur, what do you think is one of the maybe recurring or common issues that we should look out for in relationships and marriage in particular?
Every relationship requires you to continually invest. Something that one of the brothers, he said today in the cases, he said he justified himself. He said, I've done a lot. That was his excuse. I've done a lot.
Subhanallah.
So you don't have to do any more now.
Yeah.
That's it. And is that a relationship? No.
So he gave up basically.
Basically, he was saying, I don't need to do anything else now.
Yeah, exactly.
And what kind of justification? And sisters say that as well.
Yeah.
I've done enough. I can't do any more.
Yes.
No, hang on. You commit to something. You do what it takes. And Allah, the Prophet, what did he say? Ista'in billahi wa la ta'jaz. Seek Allah's aid and don't feel incapacitated or you can't do it and you can't achieve. No. Our belief is that if I seek Allah's aid, Allah is going to help me and I will achieve.
So
that's the vision. Now, you have a relationship. If I don't invest in that relationship dies. You were talking about watering the plants.
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing.
Yeah.
So if we don't continue to invest and we just take, relationship dies.
Assalamu alaikum guys, me again, reminding you to head over to islam21c.com/donate to keep the lights on Islam 21C. We pride ourselves on being independent and being funded by the grassroots community. So one of the brothers, he said that you have some disagreements with the way some of the scholars in our community deal with marital disputes or mental health issues.
Here we go.
Okay.
So we thought,
war between us.
Let's round 2 fight.
No, there was one of the things that Sheikh said actually about disagreement. Is that thing of most of the time we're actually saying, why don't you see the other person's point of view? That's already a kind of like a command. Why don't you see?
I don't remember him saying that.
What I mean is that, okay, there you go.
Putting words in my mouth.
No, what I meant is, when they say that, when people come in.
It's like one of them NLP tricks.
Must be there.
Okay, that's the way. Man. That's the way I heard it anyway. But sometimes,
it's good.
Sometimes it's like you hear the Sheikh saying, see the other person's point of view. But most of the time it's like there isn't that practical sense of like looking into, because the Sheikhs might understand the intricacy of the hadith, or maybe to understand, like they might read on it and understand what it means, the intricacies, but
The legal sense. And,
the legal says
yeah.
how to practically or even to implement that. But the general people don't understand how to implement those things. So when you're talking about, you just said about that training that's coming up right now, I think it's not only important for people who are married, I think it's more important for people who are not married.
both.
I believe that I believe that any person that wants to get married should get some kind of emotional literacy. It doesn't matter how you do it. What do you want for marriage? What is your vision? How do you know what you're gonna get into? You know, sisters. When I asked sisters, I said, you know the jihad of a woman. We know jihad of a man, but you know jihad of a woman what it is. Most of the sisters don't know. I said it's marriage. It's actually going through your marriage and actually dealing with everything that you're going through in marriage, and that is the hardest thing a woman is gonna go through. And a lot of the sisters don't understand what it takes, even brothers and sisters, what it takes to be married. You know, if marriage is half of your deen, you have to just take a moment and just deep there. What does that really mean? You think Jannah is going to be easy? So yes, it's going to complete your life, but it's about understanding the responsibility and what is going to come out of it. And we need that sense of not only dictating, but actually breaking that, and not, you know, we don't have that thing. We have sometimes when I listen to lecture, I just have an assumption, like we have an assumption that everybody understand what you call it as how do you say, what's that word I'm looking for? There's a common knowledge.
Curse of knowledge.
Not case of knowledge.
Curse of knowledge.
Not case of knowledge. You know, like a common thing that everybody knows.
Common sense.
Common sense, exactly. Sorry, just slipped my mind. You see now, there you go. So I need some help right now.
Tip of your tongue.
Yeah. So we don't have that, and we need to able to break that down to everybody. And you know, half of the time when it comes to marriage, sometimes we don't bring that case of basically mental health. If somebody can be suffering from anxiety, depression, you know, self-harming. We have brothers and sisters who are dealing with that, but we don't even know what that is. We have that assumption because we're Muslim, we don't have that. We have assumption because we're Muslim, we don't deal with trauma. And we need to bring these things out and actually say, you know what, it does not matter if you're Muslim or non-Muslim. These are the things that's going on in our community. These are the things that's going on in our families. You know, there's a lot more parents addicted to phone than the kids. These are the things that we don't talk about in our community. And it's not about putting people down, but we need to come with empathy and understanding from the shuyukh themselves. And once we speak about these issues of mental health and all that, we need to bring people actually understand these, because it's easy just to say, you know what, don't do this, do that. This person, I've heard this many times, but they're still going through this. So we need to bring the empathy and understanding for the people.
I remember hearing something that when it comes to, I think, some mental health disorders and even just kind of pent-up trauma that kind of releases in the form of a dispute amongst, you know, family members or husband and wife. Someone said once that practicing people are sometimes worse and in terms of how they react and is this something you recognize?
Yes,
I'd be careful in these types of generalizations anyway. But
definitely,
because there's so many consequences of saying that. And have you done research?
Openly practicing people, they will say.
Still, these kind of generalizations are dangerous anyway. And then when you say practicing people are like this, the consequence is that the next person who looks like a practicing person has all this negative feelings and understandings about what they are.
Is there a correlation though? I mean, between the likelihood for...
You have to do a huge research to come up with conclusions on that kind of issue. But when you go back a little bit to this issue itself, what was the issue that you were just mentioning just now?
About showing like empathy.
Showing
to
empathy,
others.
right? He was talking about shuyukh. Now, something that, because I'm not only in Islamic Council of Europe, part of my role has always been to be a murabbi. Okay, as a teacher, when I was teaching, and most of my teaching, when I think about it, has been in primary. And primary kids, you know, they wear their emotions on their sleeves. Okay, and I really believe that teaching children, and it develops you to deal with human beings. Because, you know, human beings, as they get older, they mask feelings. They're very clever at hiding. That's what we become, But children don't see a need to hide those emotions. So you can see it immediately. So you can see what kind of person this is. And then you learn to deal with that person and manage yourself, your emotions, and work with them. So it kind of prepares you for dealing with adults and anyone that you meet. Now, this issue here, being a murabbi, the Prophet ﷺ was not a sheikh. He was a murabbi for the whole of mankind. That's
Can
what
you explain what
murabbi
is for
means.
the people
Someone
doing
who's
that?
like a mentor, the one who nurtures, the one who, and he lifts that person to become the best thing he can be. Okay, that's what he was talking about, empowering.
Yeah.
That's the job of the prophets and the inheritors of the prophets, who are meant to be the shuyukh. If you divorce the murabbi attitude, the murabbi, what's the word? The murabbi lifestyle, the hat from the sheikh, then that's what you're going to get. Do this, don't do that. If you put on the hat of the murabbi, right, that's the process in them, right? I want this person to be the best slave of Allah he can be, with his abilities and his shortcomings, to be the best slave of Allah, so he gets the highest place of Jannah he can possibly get.
It's not just
But-
an information thing.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not just,
there's that care, that love. It comes from love. I love for this one. Yeah,
It's a
what I love
fundamentally
for myself.
different approach to teaching.
Yeah,
and
completely
to,
different.
I mean, in the Western world, for example, what's dominated the world right now is a very particular view of education and teaching that came out of a period in human history, Enlightenment, where the transfer of knowledge is just seen as simply, the transfer of one liquid from one vessel to another, right? Just that kind of the transfer of information, rather than other previous kind of cultures and other cultures' view of it being using metaphors like a seed, plants, flowers, that kind of stuff.
But the thing is about what the sheikh was, the question comes to the question that you just said about emotions. When I was studying, a lot of my teachers or people around would say, people of religion hide behind their religion. I used to be very defensive when people said that, and I never really kind of accepted it. But as I got older, I understood what that meant, and it's about being honest and frank. The question that you ask is that sometimes when we practice, we end up not able to use basically to see things in the whole context, only to see one side of the point and sticking with that. So a brother will be like, this is my right, I need her to obey me. And the sister will be like, she knows she cannot take this, she knows this is too much for her, and she'll bite her tongue. The sister will do something and he'll be like, you know what, I need to be able to hold this on and basically try to be patient, fasbir, inna Allah ma'a sabirin, and I'm gonna hold on to it. They put in
What they're doing is just bottling
they're
it
just
up.
bottling up. Now what happened is that because they're bottling all of this up now, and these things are just in there thinking that, okay, one time something will happen and one of them will switch. Once one of them switches now, everything that has happened the last several years now is coming back. Now it's coming back like a flash, and they're going, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. And it's like the other person like, what do you mean? That's not what I meant, this one. And then he gets angry or she gets angry, now she goes, this is what. So what's happening is that they were trying, the intention was at that time, even though they were upset, they didn't deal with that situation. They said, I need to be a good Muslim.
They thought being a good Muslim means just bottle everything up.
Boil everything up. Yeah. But so what happened is they're not taking into consideration that you're a human being and you're going to have to deal with this. And this is not the way it's supposed to be in a marriage. Marriage is supposed to be in a communication. So we have to be careful about saying people are practicing, and we have to be not generalizing it. But it's about looking at certain issues that we have and what people normally say. We just... and having that discussion. So people come to me and say, people practicing normally would actually behave a certain way. And the way I look at it is like, there's no such a thing as people practicing or people not practicing. We're all human beings. It's how we operate that kind of contradicts what happens. But when you look at the other side, sometimes if you actually say how you feel, what happened is that you might get angry, you might say something, but once that is said, you move on from there. You don't carry that baggage. Okay, if you're able to have that containment, and you're learning just, okay, my partner's a human being. He can get angry, she can get angry, and she does do something wrong sometimes. I need to able to contain that. That relationship becomes a relationship that is nurturing. So you don't abandon the other person.
In your field, do you have do you acknowledge that there's a separation between or a different approach fundamentally between how to treat a man and how to treat a woman?
Before you go into that,
is that kind of politically incorrect in your line of work?
Pause. Yeah. You're going to a completely different issue here. Yeah? Just wait. Okay, now, see, he spoke for a long time.
Yeah.
About what he just said. But at that, Allah deals with it. Yani, the regulation of what you should do in a marriage and how you should behave on a day-to-day basis, Allah doesn't get involved in that.
Yeah.
Allah summarizes everything he was saying in very few words. Yeah, bil ma'roof. Right, whatever is ma'roof, good, decent, honorable, respectful, all of that, that's how you behave with the other person. Now, on top of that, Allah encouraged us to do ihsan and be generous and give so much. Okay, all of that. Now, marriage can never be about this is mine and that's yours.
Yes.
Well, that's looking at it like that, you can't have a good marriage.
Yeah.
It's about team.
Yes.
You're meant to work. This is the strength of the ummah. If it's not strong, the family, this ummah is never going to be strong. And how is it strong? When you actually care about each other. When you think about إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ, that statement itself, you're brothers, you're so close, you're the intimate companions of each other, husband and wife. If you're not really intimate, meaning you really love each other for the sake of Allah, and you understand each other, you're that close, how are you going to really care? When Allah said, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, yeah? That showing of love and the rahmah. How are you going to have it if you don't really love that person? It's not about rights and responsibility.
Yes.
And traditionally, even go outside of Islam, it was never about the self, me.
Yeah.
It was, you know what, there's a bigger picture here. The family is so important, we give up our rights.
Yeah.
We give up our rights because there's a bigger issue here.
Or your short-term kind of desires.
Yeah, short-term desires in general. There's
For
a family.
longer-term, bigger goal.
Yeah, bigger goal of the family, bigger goal of the society, bigger goal of the clan, whatever it was. It'd been lost.
But the thing is, people
now
don't.
it's only the mafia that do that.
But the thing is as well, we don't realize that, sometimes what can we live without? This is a question that you can get angry and you can say, I'm out of this marriage. And at that moment, it might feel like it's the only thing that you want to do because it's so overwhelming. But the question a lot of the time we don't really take into consideration, if I walk away from my family right now, can I live without them? Honestly and deeply, can I really live without them? How am I going to feel? Forget about families and what they say. Sometimes we take the baggage of everybody else. And, like, not even the religion. Most of the time what clouds the religion is the culture. We hide against the religion, but really what kind of like what navigates us is the culture, and we don't know how to get rid of the culture, and we don't, because the religion is very fluid. It's not set in stone, as the Sheikh has said. The thing that most of the time is set in stone is the cultural aspect of what we perceive we want.
But that's part of what ma'roof is, right? What culturally what is seen as
something I was discussing just the other day as well. It's this negative attitude of culture and tradition. Currently. But if you look at humanity, humanity in general,
you can't exist outside of a culture.
Yeah, you always tradition and culture had such a lofty status. Okay, when you look at why the Quraysh did not accept Islam, is their culture. But what comes and says, no, that type of thinking for this portion of the culture is wrong. Not the whole culture. That part, portion, because it contradicts the guidance of Allah. But otherwise, tradition, culture, this is something to be respected, venerated, accepted, acted upon. And if you look at that, those cultures did exactly what Allah said. فأما ما ينفع الناس فيمكث في الأرض. As for the things that benefit people, mankind, it will remain. Allah makes it remain. And these are the things that were preserved.
SubhanAllah.
Right, so it's a completely foreign and completely alien view that tradition and culture is bad.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Just like as a generality.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not so much as culture is bad. It's the conflict that we have within ourselves. Now, if I look at myself,
You have two. You mean if you have two cultures?
you have two or three
colliding.
cultures. Now, right now, I'm a Muslim. You know, I'm Somali. I'm British. Now, for me, I cannot say
Why'd
myself.
you say Somali before British?
Yeah. You know what? The funny thing, I wasn't even born there, even seen that. That's the funny thing about it. I think I'm more British than Somali in a certain ways. But which one
you
comes
can
first? Who knows? You know. But the thing
After
is,
Brexit, you know, we have
after
to prove
Brexit.
prove our Britishness now.
yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Does that mean I have
Better
to
be
take the
careful.
Hamis off now? You know, cut the beard,
Please
I
don't.
know.
Anyway.
Depends what you're wearing underneath, bro.
You know, so is that thing of sometimes it's like a lot of brothers, when I speak to them, even sisters, they say, I say, are you British? They go, no. I said, when you think, what language do you think with? They go, English. And so how do you operate? And then when they come to realize, okay, I am British, and I go, okay, now you have to think it in clearly. How much of your influence is British? How much of your influence is your actual traditional culture? And how much of that is Islam? This is the thing that we need to find,
Got a
and
few,
because there's
sort of mixed up in
there's a conflict
Yeah.
in there, and that's what you need to kind of take it apart and find what you can really conflict. Are you really going to the point where anything that conflicts with my religion, I'm gonna have to pack it that way, and then I can see what's left over and what can go with my religion. And what you realize, whatever goes with your religion doesn't go against what you really believe, but we just want to feel that we cannot make our own path, because right now we're in a cultural kind of like not the norm. We're mixed of so many different things, so we cannot operate from just one culture. It's impossible. As the Sheikh is saying, that's Quraysh. We're in Britain right now, Sheikh, and you're gonna have to kind of open up your mind a little bit and kind of say, look, there's so many different
I was
vibes.
born here. I was born here. I had to drop that one.
Yeah, you had to drop that
was a
one.
good
Sheikh.
one, that was a
That's
good
a good one.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to kind of like.
I was born here. You came when you were 11.
You know what I mean? Yo.
They said 15, yeah. 15.
Oh,
Yeah,
even worse.
15.
He
Oh my
remembered.
God.
15 years on you there and more. Well, let's not talk about
You
that.
know what I mean? It's killing me
It's
right now.
alright,
So it's
He's got his
about-
papers now, so
Can I be deported? Can I be deported? I'm
yeah.
wondering now.
Even you can still be deported, Sheikh.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's all on the table now. You know,
No, it's
all in
new
Allah's
government,
hands. It's all in Allah's hands.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of like really go back to what we can live with. I think that's the most important thing. What can you know, as long as you know what you want and
What
this-
you can live with, yani that.
as long as it doesn't go about Islam and
Yeah.
and as long as it doesn't go against Islam, and you can, because Sheikh, most of the time is that what you can live with. If I divorce right now and I said,
This is the point.
this is
Yeah,
the point.
yeah.
If you kind of say by anger at that moment, because you're feeling rage, you just want to walk away, or the brother said, I'm not willing to give anymore. If you really think about, if you're not willing to give anymore, is that means you want to walk away from this relationship? That's the question. That's the question that's important. The sister and the brother come in and said, I'm not willing to give and I'm not willing to give. So does that mean you want divorce? So why are you here? That's the question. So
Now,
it's about
and on
understanding
that
what you
point-
can leave. Yeah.
On that point,
Assalamu alaikum, guys. Last reminder, I promise. Head over to islam21c.com/donate to help this movement get to the next level. So we have genuine, high quality media articulating Islam in the 21st century and developing confident Muslims impacting the world for the better.
it's really easy to just give up. It requires no courage. But to actually face the challenges takes courage. So if you're a courageous person, you'll face up to the challenges and do everything it takes to make that situation better.
Okay.
But it's very easy to walk away. And the mentality these days, unfortunately, we're growing
People
up
don't
in
wanna put
a
in hard
time-
work.
Yeah, they don't want to do any hard work. And it was very different in the past. You know, you were taught to you do that which it takes. This is Islam. Ista'in billahi wa la ta'jaz. Work hard. Yani, والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Nothing is achieved without hard work, hard graft. Now what? Everything's fast food, instant gratification, all this nonsense. No one wants to do anything.
And it's
that's
having an
difficult.
effect on relationships and marriage and stuff.
Everything.
And but Sheikh, the other thing as well is that we have to kind of look at it, you know, once you kind of get used to that fast paced, there's things that will naturally, once you slow down, you feel like things are very slow and they're not really working to how you want it. But most of the time, Sheikh, I wanted to ask you a question. When you see,
I don't do fatwas at this time.
okay.
Yeah, so
when he's hungry.
you know, you deal with a lot of marriage disputes and all of that. How much do you
look, he's trying to pass the bucket. What,
Yeah.
So you don't.
How much do you feel like out of when you get the marriage dispute? How much do you feel like mental health actually plays a part in it? From your experience, I know you're not qualified to do it, but do you see that there's a part of it that plays into this issue?
Yeah, mental health. There are mental health issues. So we deal with certain issues when we feel there's something else going on here. Like sometimes people come in, and then in the discussion you find out, you know what, he or she went to the hospital, and then they mentioned something. You know what, there was some history in the family of someone having something, and you just get a feeling, you know what, they need to look into this as well, because we're not equipped to deal with everything, and no one is. We have our fields and we keep to them. And so a good thing with us is that we understand this is what we're dealing with. We refer people to counseling. We refer people long-term counseling things. We don't want to deal with that. We have a specific remit. Refer people to the professional services, doctors, and the mental health, and the rest of it. It's just certain things people won't tell you, and then you pick up kind of in the conversation. You know what? There is something there. So you know what? You advise out of sincerity. Yani ad-din al-nasiha. Yeah,
You'd have to have some kind of what do they call it? Mental health first aid.
And
Where you can recognize, you know, some when to pass it on to someone, especially.
Sometimes it becomes very blatant, though. They say, "Yeah, I was checked for this, but I never followed it up."
Okay.
And then you know,
And I think most of the time is the issue with mental health is sometimes it's very hard to kind of talk to someone. Somebody might suffer from anxiety or depression or even trauma, but the spouse might feel like, where does the mental health come in? And where does the person themselves come in? How much can I be able to hold them accountable? These are some of the issues that in a relationship comes in. Sometimes is that we see the mental health aspect, but we don't really kind of say, okay, maybe my partner does suffer from mental health. And, you know, there's a basic kind of things that you can follow up. If your partner kind of like changes their habits, they don't do the same habit that they used to. You know, if they don't want to go to work, they're sleeping a lot more. They used to be a person who laughed, they're a lot more angrier. This could be to do with the strain of the relationship and the stress. But sometimes there's certain things that it actually is to do with mental. And sometimes a person might say to the spouse, you know what, I feel like I just want to die. You might just feel like this is just somebody just saying like for the sake of saying it. But these are the sign of basically, you know, suicide ideation and all of this. And we need to able to be very much sensitive to those little cues of our spouses. Sometimes when somebody's overwhelmed and you know you feel like if the family, that the Sheikh will say, the family has some kind of mental health common mental history, you need to be able to be quite sensitive to your spouse. Okay, I need to watch out for this, and have that open discussion of, do you feel about this? And we need to able to take that stigma away and thinking mental health is something that has to be serious only, but we don't really look at common mental health, how it affects most of our life. When I work with clients and they come in with just general mental health, after we finish they say, you know what, you didn't only help me, but you helped at least minimum 7 people around me, because the relationship with not only with their spouse, but with their brother, with their mother, with everybody around them changes. So we need to look at our mental health as we go to physical training, and we train to get more aware and more strength and more fast and more energy. When you come to counseling, you don't have to have mental health to able to go to counseling. It actually is good for you, because it gives you a space where we don't have time to just sit down and contemplate. We don't have time to just sit down and ask somebody, sit down and say, how are you feeling? How's your day? What's going on? We don't have that. We live in a life where it's very fast paced. It doesn't matter mother or fathers, it takes a child, a village to raise a child. We don't have that village right now. Everybody's so busy. So the only 2 people you have are the two couples. If they don't really take care of their own emotional needs, they become a burden to the family. So we need a way to look after ourselves, our emotional needs, take time out, not only to go to the masjid, but brothers and sisters able to go to the, to exercise, to go to sauna. It doesn't matter what it is. Take a long walk in the morning after you drop the kids. You need to find time to look after ourselves, because otherwise we become a burden. One of the saying my father said, very common sense, but then for me it wasn't at that time.
So your father's full of wisdom.
Oh, tell me about it.
This is your
He
father's
said,
advocate right here.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's,
100%.
so
And Allah is the advocate. Come on.
he
I'm
said
getting
that.
refuted left, right, and center.
Yeah, you can't match this. Come on, it's pure
We,
guidance here.
we have a culture of like, you have to help everyone. If you don't help everyone, you're no good. And my father said, you know what? If your brother helps himself and he never helped you, he actually helped you. And I went, what do you mean? He said, because if he becomes a burden and he can't help himself, you will have to help him. So he will become a burden. But if he helps himself and he never helped you, he actually helps you. And I just sit down and went, actually, that's quite right. That makes sense. But in my brain, all I know is I have to help everyone else. That's the first priority. But we never kind of think about, you can only help others when you help. You can only help yourself when you help. But we have that feeling like, if I help myself, am I being selfish? Am I being? And it's not about being selfish. You cannot
It's
be.
me time.
Yeah, you cannot be like this. Nor can you be like this. You have to be just middle path.
I think part of this, and I think a lot of issues that we face today. I remember speaking to in one of the programs about this, with just brothers coming up with ideas for projects that we could help alleviate certain problems. And I noticed a pattern, and that was a lot of the problems that we're looking for solutions for today, I think, in my opinion, are a consequence of the breaking down of the extended family unit and the creation of this new nuclear family structure, which isn't older than 100 years old, right? Because
Probably less.
During the so now a family is what we're pushed to regard as a family unit is husband, wife, 2.4 kids, or it was like 1.9 now.
This issue is something that Muhammad Habibi just touched on just now. If you look in the families now, and generally, the amount of stress people feel that they are under inhibits them from actually functioning normally.
Yeah.
Okay? They have various illnesses for it. They always feel overwhelmed. Therefore, they can't do things. They can't be productive. And, the practice of Islam is very superficial. Yeah. Even if you go back 10 years ago, the way people were connected to Allah was much stronger. Now you see people overtly practicing, but you find their faith is so weak. They question everything. And that submission to Allah that used to be standard is gone. They're involved in, overtly they look practicing, they're involved in so many horrendous harams. Things that you wouldn't even think of. So it's so different. Now that stress, they can't deal with it. A courageous person, because he has Allah, the firm handhold is with Allah, he takes the challenge. That's the courageous person. But because their handhold with Allah is weak, what do? Give up. Because it's easy to give up. To actually be courageous is difficult. It requires that musabara and really
But,
struggling.
the a lot of the ahkam of the Sharia and the rulings and the logic of the Sharia, that's what I'm trying to get out with this nuclear family stuff.
Yeah, it
To
doesn't work.
impose that on this new nuclear family model, it could lead to so many. It doesn't get you the intended, what Allah intended out of a family or a society, because when Islam was revealed, the family unit, the minimum family unit was, some people say 50 or 100 people. It's
Yeah,
like
the whole village.
the whole village,
whole clan.
right? And you exist as one member of that thing. You're not now in modern times. The society's been atomized to have every family, which is a very small, everything shaved away now, kind of live in silos, and all the functions of that were carried out by the extended family, including sharing stress, including education, healthcare, even resolving disputes, all that kind of stuff. All of those things now are just taken over and mediated by private corporate entities or state institutions or whatever.
But the thing
Right,
is,
so your cultural production, your entertainment, your healthcare, even your
yeah,
career.
but the thing is as well is that the way at the moment, the way it's saying that if you're living with your family members, you only see the negative side of it. I cannot have my own house. I can't live on my own. The kitchen. Every brother and sister like, don't go to the mother-in-law. They have that sense of that mentality from a very young age at this moment. So automatically, if they have that sense of like, I'm going to live with my mother-in-law and my family, that person is already operating from a negative place. So they cannot see the bigger picture, the benefit that comes in. So they only feel the house is being smaller and smaller and smaller. So the stress becomes quite negative because their vision of a family is, for me, I need to live on my own. So that is one of the issues that's happening. And we need to able to understand that, we have to kind of like think about what do we actually want for a family? How do we go from here? But the most important thing is that once you have a family breakup, your iman goes down. Your as the Sheikh said, your stress goes high. Once your stress is high, your worship becomes kind of like diminished, because this is the people are very much like, they don't get closer to Allah. Once they get stressed, they get further away from Allah because of the stress of the marriage and everything else. When you see people, they're practicing once they're married, and after they get married, you see them completely out of it. And that is not only to do with the stress because they're not married, but it's to do with the mental health department, the anxiety, the depression. We need to able as well to look at it. There's sometimes as parents, we know what's going on with our children, and we don't help them as early enough. And even as parents, it doesn't matter how old our children are, we support our family members in the wrong. Not saying that you're right or wrong, but we need to be empathic in a way. Say, look, my brother, this is not normal. Your anger is too much. You need to get help. You need to get. We never do that. We need to able to say, you know what, as brothers and sisters, that it does not make you weak for you to ask for help. The strong person is the one that asks for help.
And when it comes to dealing with stress as well, one important thing, that's why I asked you about the difference between men and women, because one of the best pieces of advice I got before I got married, and brother who gave this said this was the best piece of advice he got married before he got married as well, is he said, read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, because that tells you fundamentally a lot of the issues with this kind of
You didn't read the ayah. Well, he said, you didn't get that.
But just giving practical examples,
part of a verse like that to understand that.
But specifically because when you have a man and a woman together in a house, that's the family, and there's no advice, there's no broader coping mechanisms. The man will treat the wife as though it's just another guy, and the wife will treat the man as just she's another friend of hers, not realizing they're literally wired differently.
They are literally wired different.
Not like wired, but they're
Yeah.
wired differently. In terms of how to cope with stress. So women, for example, they can reduce stress simply by talking about what's stressing them out, and a man, for example, will constantly try and attack the source, fix the problem, Fix the issue, they call it. And when you get that together, and they don't know how to communicate with that with each other, they have good intentions, they want to resolve issues and stuff, but because they're using different languages, because fundamentally they're different in their essence. It leads to
You know what?
leads
I
to so many
can
problems.
put another spin into that. Right now, sisters are working. They're doing the job. They're actually competing just as strong as the men. So sometimes when people get married, it's like two men are getting married or two women are getting, because what's happening is that they both get the same mentality. So if they both want to fix the source, but they're not really dealing with what's really going on, what's going to happen? It's going to break. So sometimes at the moment, you could have said that, but right now it's a lot more complicated. We got mishmash of everything. People feel differently, and people speak different ways. You got another book that says, and there's the 5 languages of marriage. Somebody will see a man sometimes. Some men will see the tire which is punctured. He will go and fix the tire, but the sister will cook for you. So, but there's different way of showing the love.
What did you mean? Oh, okay. The ways of showing love. Okay.
Yeah. So the way of showing love, but
You have to learn how to interpret.
how to interpret,
language,
but sometimes that is the same language. Do you know what I mean? So we have to kind of like understand as well, what kind of language is my spouse speaking? How do they speak? Because we want the other person to think the same as we're thinking. Like, why doesn't he just understand? Look, I do this for him. I think about him in a different way. Why doesn't he do the same thing for me? But when I ask, what does he do? Oh yeah, he's very affectionate. But that's his way of talking. No, that's not what I want. So we have to have that empathy that Sheikh was talking about as well. We need to have empathy and say, what does this person give me? He's not me. He's another person. Most of the time in marriage, people want to change the other person to their way of vision. If that person doesn't come to their vision, this is not working. But this is not marriage. Marriage is a mix of of two sides. They go good and they go bad. And you have to see the good in that person most of the time and see like, look, I need to have patience. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Ayaka khair.
I'd like to carry on, but everyone's tired. Everyone's tired. I have to get home. But what I was saying, I am not willing to continue this podcast because we're running out of memory card space.
Alhamdulillah.
I
Good
can't.
time to go home.
But Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, and Muhammad Habib from Habib Counselling.
Yeah.
Limited.
Still, in 1 hour, he hasn't been able to memorize your name,
yes.
anything else.
So if you need to find my contact, you can find me.
We'll put your details on the screen and below, inshallah, so they can.
Jazakallah khair, yes.
Barakallahu feekum.
Yeah.
And Jazakallah khair, thank you for watching at home. If you like this podcast, remember to give it a like and a share, and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get notified for future videos. Also, get involved in the comments below. And if you reach the end of this video and you're watching and you're listening to me say this now, then congratulations, you're extra awesome. And put your name in the comments below, telling us that you reached the end. And the people who did so for last week's episode will be on the screen now. Just a reminder to check out iceurope.org.uk, iceurope.org. We'll put it on the screen for the marriage workshop coming up. Alhamdulillah, I'm going to get beats now. Check it out when it's happening in your area, London, Cardiff, Birmingham, and also subscribe wherever you get your podcast to the Islam 20 Unscripted podcast. That's it for today. I've been your host, Salman Butt, and Assalamu alaikum.
Unscripted.